Next week, y'all gonna be up.
It's cause they miss you, big dog. What you talking about, man?
Nah, they see me every day, yo. I told you I'm at the crib. If I'm not out in the streets, I'm at the crib.
Did you say
I get
out in
a
the street? Theo, you're a married man with two kids. You cannot be out in the streets, fam. What are you
hold
talking
on, hold on.
about?
I didn't say I was out in the streets getting busy or nothing. I was out in the streets making moves. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully doing what I need to do to make money,
Got
as
you.
well as go get groceries and everything else. But you know what I'm saying?
You sound it's funny. You sound like that dad that's been pimping for years on end and won't tell anybody, and no one finds out to the funeral. Yeah, I just been out here, making moves. I'm a businessman. I'm from the South, bro. You New Yorkers can't fool me, okay?
Oh wow.
I know the language, okay? God dog it. Anyway, what is going on, everybody? It's your main man, Hans Nobi, half of co-founding member of the Latin pop and Afro R&B music production
Okay.
company, Room 380, and I'm here with my main man, Theo Mackey, aka Urban Waves, and this is episode 26 of Capitalism and Art. What is the deal, my friend? What is going on? What is your life? Get your life, bing bong. All right, let me stop talking.
Oh wow. I here and I thought we left that challenge, that whole situation in the past, but we bringing it back.
I mean,
Do it.
why not? Why not? Everyone else does, so why not? But man,
True story. True story.
what is the deal? What's going on? What's been popping? How was your week?
Man, the week has been good, man. I got my first A with the class situation. Again, if you tune it in for the first time, I tell them every week I'm currently in school for my master's program, my master's in communications with an emphasis in PR. So I just finished my first class about a week ago. I was tripping because I didn't get my final grade yet. I'm sitting here like, okay, class is about to start for this next session. I need to know what's going on so I can be mentally motivated going into this next class. Had me nervous for a second because it was my major project. But as they say, I got an 18 out of 20. For those who don't know, that's the point score with regards to my project. So my whole overall class grade was an A. So I was feeling mighty blessed. And that was for my PR class as a whole. Other than that, I mean, I've been feeling incredibly blessed because different people have been reaching out to me with situations and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Houston is definitely doing a big up for me right now. So that's a blessing.
That's where the money's coming in Houston for you right now.
Man, listen, it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy because it's one of those. A lot of stuff I don't talk about on camera. I always tell you behind scenes, but Houston is definitely about to put it in a situation. You know what I'm saying? It started off with being blessed working with my bro Hans Nobi with the podcast situation. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to that situation. Shouts out to the past with the fruit stand.
You know what I'm
and
saying?
some other situations out of Houston is developing on some serious blessings. I'll talk about that at a later time once. Well, I'll talk about it live at a later time once everything fully develops.
For sure, man. Definitely. Hey, man, congratulations. That is your first ever really dope intro. You finally got it. God dog it. Give it up for Theo. God dog it.
But
I believed in him. I knew he was gonna get it done. My week has been pretty good. It's been pretty packed. So, been working on something for a while, and it's starting to pay off. Oh, Ayo, Lone Star, my fault, G. I did not know it's not following you on Twitter. My fault. I just saw that. My fault. My
man,
bad, broski. My bad. Um, shout out to Lone Star, J Rose, Symbolic One. That whole Dallas family, sick with it. Y'all know what it is, man. Every time I see y'all. But anyway, my week's been pretty good. So, what I've been focusing on is quarter two, as well as quarter three, quarter four, and quarter five. There is no quarter five. There's a quarter one, but you know what I mean. But let me give you guys a breakdown in regards to like why I haven't been very active on socials. One, just want to put out some content or rather, I want to put out the message. I am not suicidal. I am okay. Um, and I thank each and every last one of you guys for not DMing me or text me, but just assuming, because we know that's what a lot of people do when you when you go inactive on social media.
listen, I
Um,
didn't know you was that level celebrity yet. That's wild.
oh, get this! I got my first Twitter troll.
Oh
I just had
man.
this conversation. I just had this conversation with the rest of the guys and ladies. Sorry, I keep forgetting about Nico and Shannon. But I just had this conversation, and I got my first Twitter troll. I tweeted,
Uh-oh.
I tweeted, my goal is to sell 100 million records as a producer, and somebody said, okay. It's like, oh, sorry, okay, my bad.
Also, he tried to be Jay-Z's uncle in the moment then. Oh, that's crazy.
It's cool. It's cool. I'm not tripping about it. But what I wanted to say was in regards to the social media break. I'm working on a lot of stuff in the back end for you guys. Me and Theo, as well as Rivers, have really been working on some stuff for you artists. I really want to bring something new to the game. I really want to make an impact. And I know what you guys need. You have told me like a million times in DMs, and I want to make sure that we provide that, and that's what we're working on. I promise you, in April, you're gonna love what we're gonna roll out. It's just that, it's a business, so you got to work on the back and stuff, so that way you can bring everything up to the front. So a lot more content, a lot more, let's say, services we're gonna bring in regards to working on your albums as well as your projects. I promise you we have something for you guys. I hear you. I appreciate you guys being patient. I know some of you guys have had to push back some stuff in regards to like working on, studio sessions and projects and everything else. Definitely appreciate you guys being patient. Excuse me, being patient, but it'll be worth it. I promise you. The stuff that we have, I literally have stuff mapped out until March, I think the end of March 2023.
Don't be modest, man. Tell him it's really 2025.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't want to sound cocky. But no, it's I promise you with this podcast that me and Theo are working on, Room 380, what me and Rivers is working on, the team is growing, is building. I just bear with me, but it's about to be, it's going to be lit. I promise you that. And I'll speak about it a bit more later, but it's going to be lit. Trust me.
One step.
All right, Theo. So, this news week has been kind of interesting. This is my kind of talk. And we're going to get into some things in regards to what we're going to roll out today on today's episode. But I want to talk about a tweet that is said a while back. In fact, let me pull it up on Instagram. For those listening on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, or your favorite podcast app, you can't see it, but I will tell you exactly what I'm talking about. So there is a tweet. There's a carousel tweet, right? Excuse me. See here. So there's a tweet I posted on, let's see, this was January 18th of this year. I said, famous real estate agents are starting record labels, yet you're being told there's no money in the music business. And then on this carousel, I go to some things in regards to, there's 7.1 billion was made off of physical and digital as far as music streaming and everything else, right? So we're gonna get into some stuff, but before we get into it, as my bald head is just all over the screen.
I gonna lie, that's a very serious face.
So the funny thing is about this face is I was told I don't have RBF. What I actually have is something called RMFF. And it makes sense because I am that. I am definitely that. So, but in regards to the content you guys are tapped in with, I want to get into these major acquisitions. Now, we have been saying for a while that the music business has been positioning itself. Well, let me break that down. When we say the music business, we're really talking about the big three, UMG, Sony, and Warner. We're talking about the big three. So those guys are doing things in the back end to prepare themselves for Web 3.0. I see it. I called it last year. Plenty of other people called it if you've been paying attention, because they understand that those of you, and we'll talk about Web 3.0 in a later podcast, because me and Theo,
That blockchain.
That blockchain, it gets deep. We're gonna have to dedicate an entire episode as to what that is, how you can benefit from it, and what we're looking at in regard to the future of not only the majors but also the indies. So we'll put a pin in that. But in regards to what these guys are doing, they're preparing for this new world that we're about to be in, this shift, right? So the first article I want to pull up is Sony Music's 430 million acquisition of AWOL officially cleared by UK competition watchdog. So I took a look at this article, and Theo, I'm going to let you talk because I also notice I talk a lot on these podcasts. I don't want to take too much space, right? But so I was taking a look at this. This is interesting. Now, if you're an indie artist, this actually affects you. I'll let Theo talk about it from the top level, and then I'll talk to you, those who follow me, and talk to me on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, how this will affect you in the future. So, Theo, take it away.
I mean, just to keep it real simple, you're now dealing with a situation that was considered an indie with major relationships is now what you consider an officially indie major situation, because in this instance, they're going to be under the label. Now, funny thing about it is Sony also owns the Orchard. So now you're talking about two of the biggest indie label or indie service providers with regards to independent artists as a whole is now branded under Sony. So now you're talking about relationships, rather if it's from, hey, I need distribution, hey, from a synchronization standpoint, anything that would correlate to their core services and or just being affiliated or signed with them as a label as a whole in that sense. Now you have a direct pathway to a major label as long as you have that established relationship and you're in a position to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you a question. So I want to address that first. When you say you have a direct relationship with the major, we're still looking with. So, what's the word? So actually, let's break this down.
Well, direct pathway.
So explain that.
So you think about it this way: you have a relationship with the Orchard or AWOL in this instance.
Right.
Let's say you're that golden boy or golden girl with regards to product. In that instance, it is advantageous for them to shop you to the people that paying their bills, Sony. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to take the chance of letting you get out of house and go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let's say you got an album coming out. Okay, your previous album did whatever units and sales, your social numbers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The next eventual move, if you want to be a major player, you know what I'm saying, and gain that next level resources, is to shop you to their next circumstance, which is going to be Sony. Because per the article, they're saying they're still going to operate in an independent capacity. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, they're going to still be direct competition to the Orchard. But in that same sense, because Sony has acquired them, they're going to have those relationships in place where it's time to make that transition. Hey, you've been doing great in this space as an independent artist. Now let's get you those next level resources so you can become the Chris Brown, the Beyonce, the Rihanna, etc. Now you have that direct path, because a lot of artists will say, oh, I don't have label opportunities, or I don't know people in positions who can get me in boardrooms, et cetera, et cetera. If you align yourself in this particular situation with their independent arm, and you put yourself in such a position to where, again, you become what they're focused on, now you have an opportunity to say that you have a direct pathway to a major label. Because in that instance, it's like saying, hey, me right now, I work for small car company such and such, but I'm owned by Ford. If I see a new product coming up the line, I'm definitely going to pitch that to Ford so I can make these situations happen. Because anything that benefits you is going to benefit me in that instance. It's going to benefit the brand as a whole. That's the circumstances with it.
So my only thing with that is, you said a keyword there. If you're like the golden boy or golden girl, what would qualify? And see, that's where I come in as a creative, where I have to ask questions. So what qualifies me to be the golden boy or golden girl in this instance? Are we looking at sales? We're looking at merchandise, touring? Because, so let's look this up, right? And so if you're not familiar with AWOL, I explained this before in a couple of podcast episodes ago. So AWOL, Artists Without a Label, is a British music distribution company owned by Sony Music Entertainment, which again, as you said, puts them in direct competition with the Orchard. The company serves as an alternative to the traditional music label deal, offering deal structure to artists and independent labels without giving them ownership or control. So basically, it's what they call artists and label services now.
But they're now owned by label.
So
actually, they're owned by a conglomerate. Technically,
technically,
a whole lot.
So my only thing is, one, to get on this roster, right? So to get on AWOL's global roster, this isn't easy whatsoever. Like, it's not like I don't want to be disrespectful to the other companies, but it's like you really have to be proven before you can try to get on here and become one of the artists that they're going to distribute, right? So now all these artists are competing with trying to get to Sony, right? How did this work with the Orchard? Because isn't the Orchard owned by Sony as well, or
Yep.
So
but that's the thing. Per the article, so one of the circumstances was exactly that, the fact that they own the Orchard. So it's like, okay, well, if you own both of the primary circumstances with regards to label services, what does that even look like? But apparently they were able to basically prove that, hey, these two are still going to work in independent operations, in which case they would still, on their level, be competing against each other. So it's like in that same situation, if you got
a monopoly board. This is what I've been telling y'all. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a skeptic. I peep game. Damn it.
I respect it.
But shout out to those two.
I look at it like, if you let's say, for example, if you and your brother are playing on a sports team, you know what I'm saying, and y'all trying to run for the same position, so to speak. Yeah, you're on the same team, and at the end of the day, you want to benefit the team, but circumstantially, you also want more playing time. So that's kind of how I look at this situation, where it's like both of them are working independent.
It's like the NBA. It's kind of like the whole argument I make about Jalen Green, right? Because so I'm talking to those that keep up with basketball, right? Well, most of y'all who listen to me do anyways, right? So I gotta stop. I gotta stop assuming you guys aren't aware. But anyway, it's kind of like the whole thing that's going on with like Jalen Green and the Rockets, where he kind of got iced out in a couple of games. He's showboating and everything else. He's really showing his athleticism this season, but he is competing not only on the Rockets against the other teams. He's also competing against the other players on the team as well. Mm-hmm. So that puts, they were already in that position, but now they got to become even more competitive to get that attention.
Right.
If deadmau5 is on there and he decides to put a project through AWOL for whatever reason,
right?
I don't know if these other, because of just his brand and everything, I don't know if they have a shot. But again, I'm not gonna assume. It's business. It's just that it's curious, if I'm using that word correctly. It's very curious
how those processes
work. Because like if I'm on the Orchard and I'm seeing this happen, I want to be like, well, if that's the new kid on the block, then who's to say that those resources don't go through the Orchard? Or like it causes me to ask questions as a creator. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I just want to make sure that I get my attention. So I just want to know. I'm just curious how this is going to work.
That makes sense, because it's like you already knew from a standpoint of being on the Orchard, you had competition with another existing source. In this case, AWOL, having label services available.
Artists and label services, yeah.
Exactly. So in that particular situation, now for someone being on the Orchard, you're like, wait a minute. Did you just say they just got brought in-house? Okay, so now what does that look like now that Sony has an eye on them as well as Sony has an eye on us? It was different when they weren't necessarily part of our collective. We knew these particular artists were competition, just like anybody else's competition, just on the principal fact that they exist. But now you're that much closer to the same resources that I already take access from. So now my sharing access with another circumstance that also has its own resources, but now is bringing in so much more to the table. You know what I'm saying? It's an interesting circumstance that you'd be dealing with in that case.
Yeah, man. I don't know what this looks like in the long run, but it's funny because when I see that term, artists and label services, I start to think about us in regards to what we bring. and I don't want to be an artist label service unless I'm gonna get into it. But like I don't want to become an A&L or yeah an A&L service. I,
Oh no.
I'm laughing because I just made that up on the spot. Room 380, an A&L service. No, we're not gonna do that. But yeah, this is curious. But yeah, 430 mil. That's no it's no cheap ticket. So
I'm
cheap
not gonna
ticket
lie
at
to
all.
you. What I'm waiting for, and I'm curious if it's gonna happen this year or next year, with all these acquisitions happening, and you know who you got out in the space that still hasn't bought into the whole label conversation yet. Big giant conglomerate, Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? Direct competitor with regards to Sony and just about everything else. So I'd be curious to see if at any point in time, if they put their hands in the conversation, considering how much they have with regards to systems and availability. Because that's even like Amazon. Amazon just bought MGM. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of time of seeing exactly what direction this is going to turn.
Wait, you think Microsoft's gonna jump in the game? I mean, that doesn't
I
sound
wouldn't be
too far fetched, but like, really?
I wouldn't be surprised. That is this is probably one of the only circumstances that they don't have major money as of yet. And as we consider how many different people are buying catalogs, it's a logical conclusion that a company like them would potentially be in that conversation. Now, if it builds fruit, well, we'll just have to see in that case. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear within the next year or so Microsoft making some form of an acquisition or making some form of a play. I mean, especially considering, I mean, from a gaming aspect, they're buying up everything. Sony's starting to get into that conversation where they're like, wait a minute, you're not about to go ahead and out the box us. So they're starting to pick up stuff. And then on this side, as we see from the music standpoint, they like, you're not about to outbox us again with everybody buying these catalogs. We got a deal in the works. They pick up the label services situation where these acquisitions are going crazy. And again, Amazon just bought MGM, like that just cleared through. So it's getting crazy.
Yeah, it's yeah. See, that's the thing. You got to keep your eye on stuff like that because that it changes. Whenever you see something that big, it changes the rules of the game, and that stuff starts to trickle
Mm-hmm.
down. I'll get into the whole TikTok, Spotify A&R thing, which I think is very interesting. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, in fact, let's actually get into that. I'll come back to the Sony music, the Microsoft thing. That's actually a pretty good theory. All right.
How long ago did we say we thought Spotify was going to end up becoming a label at some point?
That would be. Let's see. When did we meet? I think that was. I think that was one of our first conversations we had at the fruit
Well,
stand.
let me find out. We out here prophesying.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because okay, when I was working with, I'm not gonna say their name because I said the gentleman's name one time I wasn't supposed to. I don't remember signing NDA, but when I was working with a certain gentleman at SoundCloud and his team, right? Like I remember wanting to say to SoundCloud like, why don't you guys do more in regards to okay, so this is back in 2000. So I got married 2017. So this is back in 2017. So this is like, so I remember this conversation in regards to SoundCloud, and I think I said it here before. So either it was no, was it no? It was Trevor's wedding. It's actually with Trevor's wedding because this is in July. So yeah, because we were getting ready to wrap up the vocal edits for Trigger Don's album, and so I come back from Houston. I flew Spirit. I don't know why, but I did. And I got a funny story
Because
about that.
everybody got to do it once.
Yeah, but I did this stupid thing. I don't know why I listened to my pops when he said like, "Oh yeah, no one flies into New York. Everyone flies into Newark Airport." And then I don't know why it's like that's dumb. Why would I do that? It's easier for me to fly into LaGuardia, take Throxneck, and get
Mm-hmm.
home. But for whatever reason, it's anyway. I stopped listening to people sometimes. But anyway, I remember because I was working out of an office. I was working for a digital media company in the not fashion district. Help me out. The not clothing district. No, garment district. Right. So this is like 30. This is like somewhere between like Hell's Kitchen and Times Square and port that area. So I came. So I flew back from Trevor's wedding. I flew into the Newark airport. I catch a train back to Penn Station. I go up, walk into the office, and then I had a voicemail. And it was from a certain gentleman from SoundCloud. So pick up the phone, listen to the voicemail, and it was like, "Hey man, we just announced that we're going to lay off 178 people here at SoundCloud. Wanted to see if you
Shoo.
can help train our sales team." And I just remember going like,
What?
"The hell are you talking about?" And so I remember, in regards to the having that conversation, I remember they didn't even have ads set up on the site, and it got announced. So I'm not saying anything that wasn't revealed, but I remember him saying like, "Yeah, we've gone 8 years in the red, not profitable." And I was just like, "How did you? How did y'all do that?"
That just right.
So I after the Russ interview, Russ did his interview with Rory and Maul in their podcast. Now all of a sudden they're trying to have like, SoundCloud. Well, not after, but like now they're having like SoundCloud charts and doing all this other stuff to really push. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, yeah, why don't y'all just be a label? But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Shout out to them. They were very that culture. I don't know what SoundCloud culture is now, but I remember with the team I worked with they were very, very cool. Just want to give them a shout out. They were mad cool, and they were so, what's the word? It was such a strong community that people from like Germany, New York, LA, and Atlanta put together a long Excel sheet list of jobs openings in the digital media, music, and entertainment space. And I was like, yo, that's dope.
That's
But
dope.
this is a little story. I try to sprinkle in stories, let y'all know that I'm legit. I'm not out here talking out of my ass. But anyway, so in regard to that, Spotify just patented its own A&R technology to predict breaking artists. Should labels be concerned?
I'll be honest with you. The moment labels need to be concerned is the moment we hear that first circumstance that said Spotify signed such and such. Because everything right now is basically continuing down the path of a music technology company. Now, the predicting aspect puts them in a position of saying, hey, we can create partnerships with artists X, Y, and Z as they're blowing up. Now, not to say that they can create a monopoly on the market by doing such, because we also still have to see that this technology is proven. You know what I'm saying? Because the circumstance, just like with playlists, we saw it happen where it was like, hey, yeah, such and such is blowing up because of the playlist. And as soon as you put them off the playlist, deflation happened. You know what I'm saying? So we have to say that this technology, as they're positioning it, is legitimately going to take off. Now, what they do with it from there, once it proves, yes, our model is actually working with regards to rather it be endorsements, you know what I'm saying, relationships, saying, hey, we're going to position artists to do X, Y, and Z, how much money they're going to put behind said artists. Now that's going to be where that conversation becomes interesting and where labels are going to have to start saying, okay, wait a minute. I mean, but at the same time, right now, the circumstances, labels still hold the licensing conversations. They still hold the major contracts. Even if they started to try to act funky, you're going to have to do a whole lot of direct to consumer, direct to artist model kind of sales. You know what I'm saying? It's not to say that Spotify wouldn't try to do it. It's not, I mean, nothing against them or nothing for them in the sense of saying what would or would not happen. You know what I'm saying? But that would be a mess in itself, considering a lot of those major artists already have existing contracts. It'd be a nightmare to go around. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do and what they try to do. Personally, I don't think labels are threatened yet with regards to this, but I do say keep an eye out for what possibilities this technology leads into, especially going into the metaverse, because what else going into this whole Web3 situation and people trying to expand more into a VR aspect, there's no telling what the spatial opportunities are going to be with them basically saying, hey, we can predict this particular artist or this particular sound is going to do this in the next X, Y, and Z months based on people's listening behaviors. Hey, in metaverse space, whatever, there's a building that's blowing up right now allocated to these types of sounds. So now everybody's avatar can basically come through here and make this happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting the possibilities. It's just a matter of seeing what direction they'll flow. What how do you say what vision they have with regards to it.
How would you like me to address this? Would you like me to address this as the entrepreneur? Would you like me to address this as a music producer? Or would you like me to address this as an artist? There's
But
many ways I can address this.
wherever you feel most comfortable in this topic.
Is it too early for a rant? It may be too early for
Uh,
a rant.
Nah, make it happen. Make it happen. We in here.
Okay. I come with love. And I want you all to know, Daniel Eck, if you are ever listening, I do not hate you. I have no beef with you at all. It's just that
Oh
your
God.
company just happens to come up week after week. You guys are doing a lot. Some great stuff. Some stuff, I don't necessarily agree with. But hey, I've been very transparent. This is your company. This is your baby. You do whatever you want to do with it. Hey, I will continue to use your platform. It is what it is. Okay? That's it. So if I see you when I see you, same thing. Shout out to Drew Singh, all you guys. That's it. Okay. So I'm gonna address this. So I have a couple concerns here. Cause as an A&R for Mark One Music, well, okay. Let me just go. So let me address this as an A&R for Mark One Music, right? So I am tasked with finding talent, cultivating that talent, so that way we can work on records and this, that, and third, pitches, whatever. Okay. As an A&R, looking at this, I am not concerned. The reason why I'm not concerned with this whatsoever is that, yeah, you have all these different algorithms that you're using, right? That these beta users or early adopters are using to say, hey, if they make your playback of media content, then okay, cool. Based on this algorithm, we're gonna push you up. So as an A&R, you are not competition because you're using ones and zeros. I have my ear. I do not care because this stuff can be manipulated. We understand that. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but you can never be an A&R's ear. You can never be a music producer's ear, right? So let's say this is 2006, 7, 8. You are not even paying attention to really currency, Asher Raw, Charles Hamilton, Nipsey Hussle, with like you're not really paying attention to them yet. I was because I was such a huge fan of their stuff. Like I could see them overlooking Big Crit, right, on the hip hop side, right. I can see them overlooking Turnstile, the rock band out here in the city. So you are not competition. So there's that. As a music producer slash artist, this is concerning. The reason why this is concerning is because you're using an algorithm. An algorithm is just tracing behavior. It's just tracing charts, dots, and data, which can be manipulated. If it's a number, it can be manipulated. Point blank. Period. Right? Because the difference between so if you were to put L.A. Reid in a room, right? Let's say L.A. Reid, Kevin Liles, let's say Mike Karen, and then let's say so let's just use those three, right? Because I can't think of any other example. You just put those three. And then you put them in a room with this algorithm, right? And let's say you put Kid Leroy 2 months before he dropped the single that blew up. You put yeah. You put him in a room and he starts singing and doing his thing, right? Now, the algorithm at first would say, only a couple people listening. What big deal? Mike Karen would go, oh no, you're coming with me today. Like I can guarantee you, Mike Karen and the rest of those guys, the minute they heard him, they go like, oh no, I'm working with you now. So they've already beat the algorithm, right? So there's that. So that's why I meant as an A&R, this is the competition. However, if you're saying this to me opens, and I'm open to your feedback, this to me opens the door for people to come in and manipulate the system again, because we've seen this before. I'm not gonna go into the whole thing about how UMG has a stake in Spotify. To that, I still haven't figured that out yet. It's there, it's been printed, it's been published. I don't know what that means, but that's what it is. UMG has a stake in Spotify.
Oh, stock ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them cats had There was a whole conversation about that a while back with regards to who labels had stocks in and divergence of stocks and selling. A lot of that
So
stuff was wild.
okay, so this kind of goes into the whole thing that I said about the whole Shirley Jew situation when she was Hip Hop DX and then one day she's not, which is like, and same thing with Uprocks with Interscope buying these media companies and outlets. I have to ask a question. At what point are we gonna start asking the question? Are y'all just buying stuff to paint the narrative of of an industry plant? Because let's say, for instance, I'm on a certain label, right? A certain label that owns one of these media outlets that's supposed to come off authentic. They have a stake in the DSP, and then they have their own thing in regards to, putting the message out about my music. What is to stop them? And this is a challenge. I'm not saying they're doing it, but this is a challenge. What is to stop them from finding some kid from, I don't know, Sioux City, Idaho, Iowa, or whatever, right? Milwaukee. That, and all of a sudden a story he gets on Spotify, a story breaks of him on these media outlets that the label owns. He blows up according to his algorithm, right? He gets pushed up, and now he's everywhere, and all of a sudden he gets signed to a label and he blows up even more, and then it comes off like it's authentic. There's no way to prove that that was inauthentic. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so what is to stop that from happening?
I mean, there was nothing to stop it from happening before. It's just now. It's literally so when you look at these acquisitions, you can almost say it's like they're closing the gates, so to speak. You remember how we used to say in the '90s and early 2000s there was gatekeepers. With the invention of the internet, slowly but surely they lost that power. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it came to a streaming market, when you have things like the launch of Spotify, and then at the same time, Spotify, here comes all these digital distribution companies saying, "Hey, come work with me. We'll get your music out instead of you doing a label." Now they're starting to buy up everything, and as they're buying up and closing in, dealing with finances or stock options, pulling money from various companies to basically say, "Hey, if you give us X, Y, and Z rounds, we'll buy this, and then when we buy this, we'll do X, Y, and Z on the back end." You're basically making it like the '90s to the 2000s again in that sense.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, that is exactly which is like, what is to stop them from? To me, it'll become blatant in a sense, where like there's no way you can prove that that's not happening. Now, of course, we know that stuff is cut in the back, backdoor deals and whatever else. But like, God, dog, like, this has to raise a question. So as an indie artist, that's why I'm saying, like, at some point you have to look at this and go, like, am I going to get pushed out? That's why Web 3.0 and the metaverse is so important. It's like, jump in there now, because if you're still on Web 2.0, like Theo said, it sounds like that they're closing the gates. Cause
I'll be honest with you. To keep the narrative going, they won't push you out. But the trick is, when you reach a certain level, that's when you start to see what the real players are. Because the smart way to excuse my narrative in this case, but the smart way to keep people as sheep, so you feed the wolves, is to keep them in the belief that this is their world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but same situation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, which is it just raises a lot of questions. Yeah,
if the world looks free, I mean, if you argue perception versus the semantics of the thing, you think it's free. At the end of the day, it's like, if you see candy on a table and nobody's around to tell you it's not yours, don't you think it's about to be yours? That's the same thing with music in the industry. If there's this available system where I can put my music out and nobody tells me, hey, I shouldn't go down this pathway, I should go to this label because they're going to give me the resources, I don't really worry about the resources. The first thing I'm worried about is just getting my music out. So I'm going to go that pathway and say, hey, my music's out there. That's what we're dealing with now. So now with all these acquisitions and all these circumstances of how people are all of a sudden coming together under one umbrella or another, or I guess one could say technically it's a series of umbrellas, because you have a company who owns a company who does services, who then owns another company. And basically all of these companies technically, as they say, operate in their same capacity, even though they've been purchased, because that's the argument. Even with the AWOL and Sony situation, article states, hey, they'll still be operating in their normal capacity, which means they'll still operate as an indie label. even though they're signed to Sony. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have all these layers when the conversation comes into play. So you're still in the perception that, hey, I can move and live and act the way I want because it's still a free marketplace. When in actuality, that free marketplace is getting smaller and smaller. You just don't realize it's getting smaller.
No, for real, for real. And that's not to shamelessly, I cannot talk. Not to plug us shamelessly, but this is why I feel it's important to put this information out there, is because if you're not paying attention, okay. So,
oh, by the way, we're not knocking Sony or anything.
No, like no, we're not knocking Sony because we don't know we don't even know what they're doing. So like it's so we're not knocking anybody at all.
It's speculation.
Yeah, it's just speculation, right? And I'm waiting for the day I get a DM from someone or a text. This is just like you need to shut your ass up. Like that's when I know I'm pushing buttons, right? So like this stuff, like this is the stuff me and Theo talk about offline is way deeper than it. This is surface level. But what I want to say here is, this is why I want to bring this information, is because like, okay, so I do sell beats online, and I have my beat store, and I use YouTube as one of the ways to promote my new beats, right? And so me and what's my man name? Is it Gumbo Beats? The music producer that gets all these TV sync licenses I think he's out of Russia. I think. I hope we don't get flagged for saying Russia. It's just a weird ass time. But we were talking about how the streams have just like dropped, like, and I showed it to you. Like Christmas, I was averaging like damn near like 1,000 streams a week, and then I look up January 7th and 8th, I'm getting like 3 streams a week. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I don't know what's causing that. I don't see anything in the marketplace that would attribute to that, because most people are, it's cold, so most people are probably inside listening to podcasts, watching stuff. They're still indoors. So what would make everyone go New Year's? Yep, all right, that's it. I'm spending less time on the internet. That doesn't make any sense. So
I first thought it's the algorithm. How did they change the system that does not benefit you, so to speak?
And that's what I want to bring to the attention to this algorithm. It's not in your control. Everyone complains about Instagram's algorithm and TikTok's algorithm and everything else. And the thing is, you are constantly playing this game where it's like, okay, cool. How do I get the proper information out there and in a way to get everyone's attention? And people are pushing the bounds so hard on TikTok that they're now violating the rules, because it's like, what else can I? It's almost like a badge of honor to violate the rules and then post it. They took this post down, or they took the sound out, whatever. It makes everyone speculate what's going on. It's the same thing here. It's like now it's you're with this algorithm, because again, what it qualifies as who's the early adopter? Like, I didn't get an email.
Right. Well, listen, I ain't gonna front. I just literally wrote what they call a discussion response.
Yeah.
In my media class regarding that whole TikTok situation, like circumstances of them not having content ID, because it's like you have this library of music, but then you also have all these other people. We're not talking about artists. We're talking about regular Joe Smo people. You know what I'm saying? Who are uploading records left to right. So it's like, oh yeah, we're pulling this stuff down. We're pulling this stuff down. It's like, well, YouTube, it took them years, but they finally figured out there's no beating the consumer in the sense of flagging and pulling down. Instead, we're just going to join the party and get people paid behind this situation. Hey, you want to leave it up? Cool, leave it up. You're going to go ahead and allow us to put ads in your video so such and such can get paid. It's more beneficial in that capacity. Now, the only downside to what TikTok's doing versus what we're dealing with YouTube is you start to see a lot more mashups on TikTok than you do YouTube. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them going viral faster. So, and people don't understand, like, that's in kind of, let me be careful how I say this, that's creating a derivative. You know what I'm saying? And a derivative work without a license is a problem. There's no content ID situation behind that. There's no, hey, let me break this down and say you took this part from such and such's record and such's record, and say we're going to send this royalty association to these 2 copyright owners, to these composition owners, would technically be the term. You know what I'm saying?
So First of all, nice segue. You're getting pretty good at this, bro. This is actually the second segue we had in the same episode. So it's actually pretty good. So that leads me to our next topic, which is TikTok's new music distro platform, SoundOn, will give 100% royalties to artists in the first year and then 90% after. Okay. All right. So let me get into this a little bit. Okay. I had this discussion with an A&R I've been working with for a hot little second. And I remember when it was revealed that Jack Dorsey had bought Tidal from Jay-Z. And the question I asked was, okay, cool, I don't know Jack Dorsey personally, but he's shown enough behavior for me to know that if there's a new company, he's going to find a way to integrate it into Twitter or when it's new, his other products that he sells, right? And so the question I asked was, hey guys, is there any way to get content ID on Twitter, and how does that work? And let me bring to your attention why I asked that question. If I post on Twitter a video, right, and like TikTok, I can pick through this library of music that I can play, right? Cool, good deal. I think you know where I'm going with this.
No, I just had a thought. You said Jack Dorsey and you said Jay-Z. I'm like, I know this deal. Because that was the Square situation that
Yes.
Jay-Z had where he put a
Yes.
stock option. I
Yeah.
was like,
I think I covered this in episode 3 or 4 of this podcast. But the question I asked was, hey, if you look at the way people use Twitter is the wild, wild west of social media. You can find anything on Twitter, and like you can literally, it could be a Monday morning scrolling through motivation. Is that a dude having sex with a pig? Like, you would see any and everything on that platform. You're just like, what
Tumblr
is
5.0.
Let's not even get into Tumblr. Tumblr was a porn site. That's why it didn't survive. Tumblr was a porn site. But this is the question I'm asking. Most people who use Twitter, the user has been conditioned to not upload music from a library. They've been conditioned to catch things raw. So let's say, for instance, I'm at a show, and let's say we'll use Kid Laroi as an example. Let's say Kid Laroi is, excuse me. Let's say he's performing, and I'm recording the live performance. Tidal doesn't have any sort of Shazam feature or whatever. So if let's say someone is on stage dancing, doing this cool dance, and now becomes a TikTok dance, but the original video starts on Twitter and it goes super viral. Well, if it gets retweeted 175.5 thousand times or whatever, but the audio in there is clear as day, that's a Kid Laroi song or whatever, he doesn't get paid for that. But that content is bringing so much attention that you're selling ads, you're getting those eyes, you're getting the click-through rates and this, that, and the third, but the artist isn't getting compensated. And the reason why I ask that is that every social media, if you look at every social media platform, you are conditioned to use it a certain way. Facebook's more like the blogs, Twitter is quick thoughts and raw content, TikTok is more of a production, and Instagram is like more photos and some videos. So for TikTok, I get it, cool, but I guess my whole thing is the word we say with an aim to empower new and undiscovered artists to allow them to upload the music directly to TikTok. What does that mean? If you like, are you giving me a content ID? Am I paying for this? So that's why I'm a little bit.
So the thing with TikTok, what they do is they have their own sound library. So the argument is, as a content creator, they want you to use the music in their sound library because that's what they have license agreements set up for.
Right.
So when you put up a song, let's say from an artist, and this always becomes tricky from a copyright standpoint, because when something gets flagged, 9 times out of 10, it ain't your homeboy from down the street. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to music, it's from a major artist or someone on the rise, something that they can say, wait a minute, that belongs to. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when they run into a situation like that and they have to pull that music, it's because they don't have a license agreement with that. So it's like if you hear artist whoever, you know what I'm saying, it's got a new hit record and they don't have that license agreement for whatever reason for that song. Let's just say that wasn't baked in, then boom, they got to pull it. But if everything associated to this artist falls in catalog because they have a license agreement with this label specifically, then you're good to go. But that same content creator all of a sudden pulls a record from indie artists, whoever, now they're not necessarily checking to pull the video down, because even though they don't have a license agreement in those situations with those social services, it's more of a hassle to really follow up on that circumstance because it's not hindering them.
But this is what I'm saying. So with TikTok, if you're doing this and you're doing content ID, if you guys are not aware, content ID, let me pull it up here. And if you're listening on online, you can Google it too. But all content IDs basically just kind of picture like a social security number for a WAV file, in a sense. So if you upload to like BeatStars or Airbid or whatever, every time your music is played, that fingerprint, rather not social security number, but it's like your song's fingerprint is registered and goes, oh, this belongs to this artist or this label or whatever else. What I'm asking here is kind of what I was saying with the whole Twitter thing, which is if the music's playing in the background and it recognizes the content, the content ID, or if it doesn't recognize the content ID, or there is no content ID, as you were saying, then that, again, like how does the artist get paid for that? Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making it clear.
I mean, so it's one of those technically you don't kind of situations. It's like, one can argue in the sense of the way content ID works on YouTube. Someone can say, well, TikTok sound library pseudo works in that capacity without calling it content ID, because they're flagging things and pulling it down in that sense that associate to the library. Yeah. So what you'd be considered their fingerprint is their sound library. You know what I'm saying? So with certain respects, that's how they perceive that situation. But the difference is in the instances of things like YouTube is you don't necessarily have to be this super major artist. You submit a record through TuneCore, and TuneCore gives you an issue of a content ID.
Yeah.
Difference in that situation with TikTok, where that's not the case. But in this instance where plug this one in, they've partnered with TuneCore. You gotta love how Believe is putting in work in these streets. You know what I'm saying? Man. Now that their new circumstance with SoundOn is distributed through TuneCore in that situation, now we can say, oh, okay, cool, yeah, put your stuff through here in our sound library. Because when you distribute it to us directly, regardless if you're a major artist or an artist just coming up,
right,
we'll be able to say, hey, this is yours. You deserve some form of a payment because your video is doing X, Y, and Z. Now, the trick is when people start talking about payments, this is where the situation gets ugly. And this is why a lot of people
I already know where you're going, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, how do you get paid? And they have a similar model to like your Spotify and things of that nature, where it's all based on percentages. Right. That's one of those flip a coin kind of situation, because everybody has their adjustments, quote unquote, to the concept of the model. But I mean, it's all based on percentages now. Like there's a such thing as a statutory rate, but it only is applicable to downloadable content. And people misunderstand when you say downloadable content, we don't mean your music on Spotify in offline mode.
I don't want to get me too'd. I know exactly what you mean, but I don't want to get me too'd. Edit. He's using that as an analogy.
Sheesh. Oh, what did I say? What did I miss?
You said statutory rape.
I said statutory rate.
Oh,
I'm like, huh?
That's what I was just like, where did he get that? Where are we going with this? Okay.
No, statutory rate. Excuse me if I said it a little fast.
No, it sounded like you said something else.
Yeah. What you say, edit on that. For those who did not hear me clearly, I said statutory rate. There is a statutory rate for music that is downloadable and physically, tangibly purchased. But people will think when we say downloadable music that I'm going to Spotify, my music's in offline mode, so it's downloadable, so artists are getting paid. No.
So my question is okay, if I'm an artist and I only have stuff on SoundCloud and then I upload my music through TikTok and get a content ID, are we looking at two different versions? Like, does that make sense? Like, then let's say later I decide to go through TuneCore and get a content ID, is that not going to conflict?
Hold on, say that for me one more time.
So let's say I take this record that's only on SoundCloud and upload it through TikTok through the library, and I get the content ID. 9 months later, I take that same song, upload it to TuneCore to get a content ID, and now have the same song with basically two different content IDs.
See, that's where you gotta merge that conversation. Remember, their partnership is with TuneCore.
Oh,
So there
okay, all
is
right.
no need to go through TuneCore, because when you're going through the process of doing the distribution aspect, their relationship is with TuneCore to get your record everywhere else. So once you're saying, hey, I'm submitting this through SoundOn, which puts your record on TikTok and all other associated brands to the SoundOn platform, getting your music to Apple Music, YouTube, et cetera, now becomes the TuneCore on. So your record, in that sense, essentially will gain a content ID through YouTube through TuneCore initially. Once you say, hey, I want to submit it to all these other places beyond what I initially came for, which was getting it on TikTok and other partner programs.
They're good.
Mm-hmm.
TuneCore, they're good.
Mm-hmm. Or should we say believe? They're
Believe.
good.
Okay,
The
okay.
parent company.
Okay, Kanye calling out for Vindy. He
We
kept
got to be mindful.
and he kept
A
saying
lot of
it.
these
He kept
companies
saying
got
it over
parent
and over
companies.
again, just like they own Clear Channel, and then it's like, yo, first of all, they don't. But anyway.
But the trick of the situation is, the reason why the market is so good is because they tell you what they want you to know, and you believe at every waking moment what they want you to know based on their marketing psychology. Think
So
about it. When you say Google, do you say Alphabet or do you say Google?
stop it. So
It's the truth.
no,
It's the
it is.
truth.
It is. Um,
Shouts out to Google.
they hell on the way. They ain't cut us no check. Okay, we gotta chill with the
Nah,
shout
I'm just saying
outs.
I don't want to. I was just saying I don't want that stuff to all of a sudden not be searching.
No, we do want to say like, hey, respect to all parties involved. Hey, no more shout outs until they cut us a check. That's gonna be for a
Man,
little while. But what I
you're
want
right.
to,
We want to respect, so we don't all of a sudden not get crawl.
yeah. But what I want to say is, so this sounds like a perfect So in regards to all the artists out there that I talk to, like in LA and Atlanta, that make all this dance music, this sounds like the best
Mm-hmm.
option is to go through TuneCore. I mean, I would think, because you're trying to go viral, because you probably have a dance record that you want to put out there. Same thing with the reggaeton artists that I work with. So it sounds like TuneCore is gonna be the better option.
I mean, that just depends on how you want to flow. So, I mean, if you just want to get it done, one quick cut and dry situation, yeah, TuneCore is definitely going to be the way to go, because you're going straight through TikTok to that situation. But it also comes down to cost association, because you have programs like DistroKid, and I'm not going to front you. I was looking the other day. There's like over 25 to 30 different indie labels. Excuse me, indie distributors that aren't even talked about. You know what I'm saying? Outside of your traditionals, like your DistroKids. Like, I'd have to go through the list, but it's wild. You know what I'm saying? Who's out
25.
there? There's over 25 to 30 like big arms that aren't really talked about. Like, who say they
TuneCore,
get?
Distro, CD
Matter of
Baby,
fact,
1 RPM,
I'm gonna pull up the list real quick. Hold on one second.
Cobalt. Who else?
Let me see. So you got TuneCore, CD Baby, DistroKid, United Master, SoundOn, Amuse, Ditto, SoundOx, AWOL, Lander, The Orchard, Reverb Nation, Sync
Oh yeah.
Distribution, 1 RPM, Soundcast, Spin Up, Novacore, Octave, Fresh Tunes, Horse Music. We can just keep going.
Wow.
Like, there's people out there that, because of a marketing standpoint, they're a niche, but they got lots of resources. And you know how we always talk about, yo, man, why ain't nobody out here doing video distribution, et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
Oh, it exists, but it's on that niche side.
Ah,
You don't really
okay.
if you look at United Masters say they do it, but they don't do it for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of your people that you know about, you know what I'm saying, like your major names, don't necessarily deal with that particular function, because YouTube exists. You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily always functionally plausible to do such with regards to finances, especially if artists of a certain capacity aren't necessarily going to benefit putting them in certain spaces. Or should I say, their partners aren't necessarily going to benefit out the gate based on the audience level of the artist that they're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you say, hey, I can put this stuff on YouTube, and YouTube's free and can get embedded anywhere. So they give you a content ID, and it's like, hey, you can go make your money however you need to make your money. And once you establish yourself, then we'll show you the sources and the resources we have on the back end that we don't talk about publicly. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things going on in regards to the industry. It's just, again, niche behavior. versus wide audience behavior. Hey, this is what we want the traditional artists to know about. This is what we want them to focus on. This is what we say is going to be beneficial to their brand. Once they pass this particular pathway, this doorway, once they put the key in and let everybody in and people start messing with their music, okay, now we can show you these resources that you didn't know existed. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna keep my comments to myself. I think this is good. But as I was saying, just the fact that you named and I've been in the indie game for a minute. No, I haven't heard of a lot of those guys. Some of them are like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Reverb Nation, and it's like, what? But again,
still exists. It's wild.
Still exists, which is that's crazy. All right, so I'm going through the list, and there's a couple things we can touch base on. I really don't have much to say about Dolly Parton rejecting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know if you saw the update, but they rejected her rejection.
Yeah, I was reading that. I mean, it makes sense. They said, nah, not again. It's too late. You are in here.
I respect the fact she said, no, I'm waiting on working on a rock album. I kind of love she did that. There's something I want to touch base on, and I did it. It's a rant. Cling. All right. I want to touch base on it, and in fact, hold on, give me a second, cause it's getting cold here. I gotta grab my hoodie.
No worries.
Theo, talk about something real quick. Let me grab my hoodie.
Oh man, what we gonna talk about? Let's see. Matter of fact, let's jump back in this platform. Let's see what we got on the Asana. 1 second, let me see what's cracking here. Oh yeah, back on that TuneCore situation, as we were talking about, they got their relationship with how do you say, with TikTok. They also got a secondary relationship with another brand called, and excuse me if I mispronunciate this, Douyin, I believe it is in the Chinese market. And if you go online, it's wild because to my understanding, ByteDance is basically trying to position these as the exact same application, which apparently is very common in the Chinese market with regards to large technology companies. But again, looking at the Believe circumstance, TuneCore picked up a partnership with them because they're basically TikTok on the Chinese market, whereas TikTok is the international arm. So, I mean, it's wild, the things that's going on. Again, with regards to acquisitions and partnerships, you really got to pay attention to what's happening in the market because your opportunities with regards to music, available partnerships, and just what's going to happen in the future could very well depend on.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, it's going to be interesting 2024, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, I say one other thing with regards to distribution. When people ask, well, which distribution is the best to go with, et cetera. I mean, to be completely honest, it's based on what you need to do and what options you want. But I tell anybody, pay attention to two things: store accessibility, and with store accessibility, marketability. Because people think, oh, you mean like a marketing campaign? No, I mean like their markets. Like, pay attention to what stores they have available in what market spaces. Like you see, like Indonesia, Brazil, things of that nature. Look at what music, what styles are budding in those countries, those continents, those markets, wherever it is that music is being played. And quite literally, music is played in every corner of this planet. You got to pay attention to that.
Like if you're, so for instance, like for me, when I put up my instrumental tape, DistroKid was good because it focused a lot on the international market, or at least at that time, and that's where I got a lot of my streams. In fact, I think I hit something. How many streams am I looking at? I have to pull it up. I think I was like at 6.8 million impressions or something like that. I have to look it up again. But anyway. I want to touch base. Oh, here it is. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick. Let me talk my ish.
UK, US, Brazil, and Indonesia.
Yeah, 2.9 million views. I've gotten 497 song placements.
Nice.
In YouTube videos. Yeah.
Very dope.
All right, so
that's the information that you want.
Actually, let me pull that up real quick. Hold on, let me. So again, see, I know I'm not just talking. I feel like I need to stop saying that so people don't think I'm just saying stuff to be saying stuff. But yeah, I'm out here. All right, I'm
Oh,
close.
my son.
All right, so rant. I've saved it to the end. I'm not gonna berate you guys or anything like that, but I have to address something that I see all the time because I'm on the ground level. So take this segment as education. Consider it a call out, but I'm doing it with love. A business coach that I talked to was saying that one of the issue, because I was telling her about I'm sorry, she was telling me about her Facebook group because ours was still in the process of releasing it, and she was saying how the first year of it she was really perturbed that people kept asking her these what she would call quote unquote dumb questions, and she said quote unquote dumb questions because she was like they're not dumb questions, but they're questions showing that the person who's asking it hasn't taken the initiative or done enough work to see if what I suggested actually worked. So I'll give you an example. Business coach, and she talks about mentoring people in regards to coaching services. And one of the questions she gets sometimes is, "Oh, how do you do that?" And so she can easily go, "Well, check out the ebook, check out the podcast, YouTube, whatever content, my Instagram, whatever, it is all there." And when she kept getting these questions back to back to back to back, what she came to the conclusion was that people were wanting her to do the work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Insert Hans Nobi, Room 380. And I don't mean to talk about myself a lot this episode. My apologies. It's just I'm the only example that I have so far. Sorry. A lot of you guys slide in my DMs asking me to be your manager. At first, I was flattered. It's like, yo, I appreciate that. You feel I'm very knowledgeable in the game and feel I can take you somewhere. I do appreciate that. After the 199th inquiry, I was like, all right, y'all, what's like, come on, fam. Like, y'all gotta relax. In regards to what the young lady was saying about her Facebook group, I feel her. And this is a call out to you artists who have either slid in my DMs about me being your manager, or getting ready to ask me to be your manager, or listening to this now, ignoring it, and will ask me to be your manager. And I hope y'all don't do that thing we I did in 2020 where you asked me, "Are you a music producer?" That was a thing. I don't know why y'all thought that was funny. I got a whole bunch of I made like one post about it and it became a thing. Like a whole bunch of people just kept DMing me, "Are you a music producer?" I'm gonna hit one of y'all in the face. But one of the things that I want to address is when you were asking someone to be a manager, you were asking someone to put everything you need first. So let's address that first. For a manager to do anything with you, you either have to have income coming in and need help managing that income, or you're leaving this person to take the lead in helping you find that income. Hence why some people charge 25% on everything, or some people charge 25% on everything and they charge you a monthly fee. I'm not here to tell you what a manager should or shouldn't be doing. I'm not knocking any managers that do that, but I understand why that they're doing it. It's a full-time job.
Just to add in what you're saying, people need to understand that you're referring to a personal manager, because you could have a business manager sitting behind a computer, basically running the analytics that is your finances. But that personal manager is by definition the person which you taking care of everything else.
The question I always ask, and I'll get into what I'm trying to get into. The question I always ask is, bro, how am I, or madam, ma'am, girl, how am I supposed to manage you and run a music production company? How am I supposed to make records? Man, you better have one hell of a plan, because this is running this thing is a full-time job. Do you hear me? I have employees. Damn it, this shit is not. They got to get paid. But anyway, I say all this to say this. You're when you ask someone to be your manager, you're not asking someone, hey, I'm averaging, $3,000 a month from streams, shows, and merchandise. I need help to see if I can get this to 5 to 10. That's not what you're asking. What you're really asking is, hey, person, can you do all the work for me? The answer will always be no. One, I don't know you. Two, I don't know your work ethic. Three, you could be crazy. Four, I don't know what history you got out here. I can't have you walking around and now all of a sudden I can't close a deal or I can't get into a certain studio. Like I told y'all about this last year around Christmas. I had a studio owner call me. Yo, who's that person that's in the back of your photo? And I was like, oh, such and such. Oh, yo, you can't trust him. He's done this and the third. He owes over $15,000 in back payments and da da da. Like that stuff really happens, fam. That's not a one off. That shit really happens. He just happened to be the back of my photo. Like, and I was like, oh, so now my team would definitely not working with him. But that shit happens. Right. You can't come to randos. You can't come to random strangers and say, hey man, can you take the bulk of this work for me and do it and I just chill. Stop doing that. It's disrespectful. One, it's really disrespectful to you because it shows that you don't really believe in yourself. And someone needs to say that. Right. So let me say that. If you don't believe, I got this question when I announced I had the A&R job. Someone was like, yo, you need someone to believe in me. It's like, well, look in the mirror. What do you need me for? So,
listen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just go ahead and refer them to genius, to the genius, to the Yee, to the Kanye. Just go ahead and refer them to Netflix and be like, listen, man, if you really want to do this, the first thing you need to do, I repeat, the first thing you need to do is go watch that video by Cootie called Genius. As it will show you how real it gets for someone who is in a position that was already in a position. I mean, you already around top rappers. You were the top producer. You're around all the hottest producers, either upcoming or already in the game. And this is the circumstance you got to go through. So what does that mean for you, who is technically a nobody? And I don't say that in a negative. I say that with love, as in, yo, you do not have the resources, the circumstances, and the things that he was presented with that he had to hustle for. And he still had to go through that. So you got to put on that next level grind to get to them stages where people are going to actually say, yes, it makes sense for me to put money behind it.
Yeah, but my issue is the reason why they're in my DMs is they don't want to put in that next level grind.
And them are the people that's not going to make it.
Yeah, no, but I would trying to be kind with my words and not come off like I'm crass and an asshole, but it's the only way I can say it, which is like, bro, if this is just a hobby, or if this is just a hobby, just say it's a hobby. Like, there's no, right. I get the sense that a lot of you are doing it just for a look. You don't really want to have a career, and that's fine, but stay out of my DMs. Stay out of my friends' DMs too. Like don't go in my DMs, and then if I don't answer, you go in my team's DMs and start trying to get them to get my attention. Like, now it's that's weird. Like, don't do that. And yeah, it's a manager is not going to alleviate the work. The manager manages the work that's there. And if you are getting a manager to help you find opportunities and stuff, then you can't be mad when they take 25% of everything, because they have to get compensated. You really have no idea. You guys really have no idea how much a manager gets told no when they're looking for like brand sponsorships. Like that's how the brand ambassador happens. For a lot of these artists, it's just like, yo, give me a brand deal. And after 100 calls and emails and being told no, they're like, yo, fam, just go be a brand ambassador for like this watch company out of South Africa or whatever. And now he's like, yeah, I gotta watch company sponsor. Like, no, you're a brand ambassador with a discount code. Stop playing. But no, but it needs to be this needs to be said, which is like, yo, a manager is not a cure-all. One producer is not a cure-all. A lawyer, an agent, an accountant, that's not a cure-all. They have to manage the work that's coming in.
There's a couple problems with that situation. Is they'll hear like a lot of major producers say, all right, if you're an artist, get with a producer and come up. But it's like what y'all missing and what they're telling you is not get a producer and think the producer's gonna do everything. Get a producer and work together, collaborate, and y'all put in as much work as each other puts in collectively. Producers taking care of the music side, you taking care of the literary side. Y'all coming together to make this musical work. Now y'all both take care of the promotion, or y'all both put money together to hire someone to take care of the promotion. But you're effectively working together. You're not
No,
just having that employee and the manager relationship where you're just sitting on your behind thinking, "Oh yeah, it's my business, but whatever." It's like, nah, it don't work like that.
fam. Working with Spizzy was a full collaboration. Like that's what it's supposed to look like. Coming together to
Mm-hmm.
find resources to put this record out. That's what's supposed. When y'all say, "Hey, let's collab," that's what's. I
Right.
and I know I'm pissed off a lot of you guys. Yo, Hans, let's collab. Okay, cool. What's the idea? Oh man, shoot, what are you working on? A lot of stuff. You think I can? No. Can you play the ukulele? No. Okay, cool. Do you have a live drum set? No. Okay, cool. I can mix for you. We already have an engineer mixing and mastering online. Can you do background dancing? No. Oh shit. I guess there's nothing to collab.
That's real though. People got to understand when you say let's work, you really need to come with something you want to work on, or at least have a genuine idea of where you would think you guys can work together and pocket.
Even it's an idea, I would love for one of these other producers to come up to me and be like, "Yo, I love your drums. I have this album I'm working on. Let's work." Okay, cool. I'm interested. Or, "Yo, your melody game is crazy," or whatever else. That's what I would do. But then
Right.
again, I have to keep in mind that I'm a bit older. I don't want to sound like the old man on the hill, but God dog it, I need y'all to put just a little more effort into this. Like I
But see,
get like let me show. Well, you know what?
I say,
I'm
I'll
doing
take,
this.
bro.
I'm doing this with respect. Um,
I said the other problem to that, bro. I'm telling you, all these people they keep hearing saying, "Yeah, let's go collaborate, let's go in the studio," but all of a sudden you're supposed to be in the studio scratching your heads to create this new idea because they saw Kanye or Pharrell do it with whoever. They just created this
and,
from scratch. It's like cut it out.
and that's another.
Stop thinking.
And that's another thing as well, fam. I'm not knocking you trying to work with an artist that's a level above you or even 10,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to love. I would think you would have to love their music to want to work with them. Like
Right.
if I reach out and say
Exactly.
like, "Yo, let's work," I really like your stuff. Like I've checked out your stuff. Like, okay, this is who I want to work with. It's the cloud chasing that bothers me. It's like, oh, let me do this just so I can get a look like, but you never heard the person's
Mm-hmm.
music. You don't even like. What if you're like you just young kid from Boston, you reach out to this guy and he's anti-Semitic, or what if like the producer you're reaching out to, like you're a woman producer and you're reaching out to this guy, but you find out like 6 years ago he had a rape case.
Right. That's just like remember
That's
SoundClick
like been
days.
super public.
Right. I'll tell you, that made me think of SoundClick days when he's that producer of Jungle Beats. You know what I'm saying? Everybody like, oh, I gotta get a joint from Jungle Beats. It's like, yeah, I don't really care about Jungle Beats. Yeah, I just hear his name everywhere across the board, and because he's blowing up, now you just have to have a beat. But dude been out here knocking for 3 4 years, just knocking, and now people hearing him. He's like, come on now.
And the reason why we know that y'all don't care about him as a producer because you call him Jungle Beats. It's Jalil Beats.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
anyway,
that's how the game goes.
but anyway, um, that's it. That's my rant for today, man. Like I said, I wanted to keep this to the end, but I just wanted to say my piece. Y'all gotta chill out, man. Y'all really gotta take this business serious. A manager is not gonna fix everything, and it's unfair to say, hey, I want to, sell 100,000 records, go make it happen, and think someone's gonna work for you for free just because, And I get it. Artists are and creatives in general, we can be very selfish. I get it, but that person has to get something out of it. And if you have nothing to offer, you have to chill, man. And
Yeah.
I stand by my statement. I don't think any artist needs a manager today bringing at least $2,000 in a month. And I dare anyone to challenge that. Straight up. I dare anyone to challenge that.
I'll be honest with you. I take it a step further because I'm like $2,000 a month is cool, but if you're only getting that from streams and you can't put butts in seats, a manager isn't necessarily just going to come in and magically say, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're going to get you all of a sudden those same people paying you 2,000 or paying 2,000 on the streams. We're going to get them to your shows."
And a lot of
What
your
you need to
favorite
be able to,
and a lot of your favorite artists don't have managers.
mm-hmm.
That's another thing that'd be
not not
killing me.
not in the way that you think.
Yeah, like a lot of your favorite artists don't have managers. It's like I have a business manager, but do I have a manager? No.
And then
I
the
know how to
crazy thing
talk in a
is,
room.
most people don't even realize literally as an artist you can have a US manager and then at the same turn have a completely different manager in the UK. That's why I
Yeah.
tell them it's like there's so many different levels and variations to this concept that we call manager, but everybody come at you the same way. Oh, I need this for you to do this. It's like, no, you don't. What you need to do is understand that this business coach over here is going to teach you how to become a small business owner. Once you master that concept, then you'll know at what stage you actually need a manager to handle your business. Because that's what I tell artists all the time. Look at these regular people called content creators. They are not attempting to be famous singers. They are not attempting to be famous NBA basketball players, anything to the scale that you want to be. These people just have a gift, a talent to make people laugh. They dance. They're not professional dancers, but they have a pretty decent dance. They can go in the club and they can make it rock. So they decided they wanted to make videos because their friends told them, "Yo, you're dope enough to where people would watch you online."
Right.
What's the difference between you and them with regards to the hits they're getting and the hits you're not getting? They continuously create and they continuously promote. They don't sit there and complain about the fact that it's like, "Oh, well, I'm not getting X, Y, and Z." They know it don't start off like that. They do the research. They study the algorithms. They study, and this is one of the biggest things I tell artists: study the platform. No two platforms are alike. What you put on Instagram is not in the same pace of what you're going to put on Twitter. You put one photo on Instagram, put the same photo on Twitter, and think the same caption is going to work, the same interaction level is going to happen. Yeah, if you have a same audience style between those two platforms, you have a strong viability for that to be the case.
No,
But if you just,
that's sorry, not to cut you off.
are you good?
So not to cut, but yeah, you're 100%. So on Twitter, like whatever, it's like most people don't care about my pictures on Twitter. What they're looking for is motivational quotes and me just updating them on, what I want to do. On Facebook, the majority of people that are following my Facebook pages and my personal page, the Hans Obi page, are producers. So if I put something in the context of music producers, it's going to get a lot of likes. On
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, it's more of just the information that's in the caption. So it's like, hey, action items, do this, do this, do this, if you're an artist and whatever. In TikTok, y'all like me to be silly. So apparently it's me making comments on the BS we see with the content creators around Ukraine, and people like it. So you're totally right. So, if you're listening in, again, every platform is conditioning the users to think a certain way. So like I said, Twitter, they just want to know, hey, yo, I feel this way. Yo, I feel you, dog. If I put, yo, man, this happened today in the studio. I was trying to do parallel compression with this drum and then this uh, piano, and then this happened. No one's going to like it. But if I say something like, yo, I'm sitting in this Krispy Kreme after I just did leg day, I'm about to be a fat ass, it's going to get a lot of likes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difference. And
Speak,
yeah.
Speaking of likes, I'll say this before we wrap up. Something that they need to be paying attention to since we're talking about market changes and acquisitions. There's a term called virtual idol. If you have not heard of this, you need to go Google this. Virtual idol. It's a thing that's out in our Eastern markets. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like you got the, I believe it's called BTS with the Korean group. The new cats is worth billions of dollars. They, in a circumstance, showing us that the digital marketplace is real, that these things are happening. You had the whole Pokemon show, was another thing that happened, virtual shows. Now they have virtual artists because we're talking about algorithms. We talking about computerized or digitized artists, not real people, literal
Guys,
avatars creating music and getting millions of hits. So now these companies are doing it without real people altogether. So you really need to step your hustle up if you really want to make it in this market, because we're talking about a whole nother side of the world that's being affected in this market behavior. It's a matter of time before it really takes off over here.
Guys, someone needs to tell Theo that my first episode ever is talking about virtual artists.
Oh,
I've
but
been
you got holographic music. Okay, okay. I like how you pull that in there.
man, listen, dog. I do this shit.
We're gonna reiterate that. We're gonna reiterate what's going on in the Eastern
Oh
marketplace.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm actually working on some stuff for an artist that's getting into K-pop. That's gonna be pretty interesting in regards to what we're doing. But yeah, I've been on game for sure.
But this ain't for you. This is for them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. But anyway, man, that's it. I don't have anything else to cover. I think next episode we should start trying to play indie music again. I really like that episode where we did that on the fly. I think it's dope. I think it'll give artists more exposure, and we're open to all, like, because I do Latin music and Afro beats and pop and R&B. I'm open. Theo stays keep his post on in Louisville, so we'll do that. We're gonna start playing with stuff. The only thing is I have to be mindful of the content ID thing. I'm not sure if I can monetize it, so I'm not sure how we'll do that. We may do it only on the digital platform. Not sure, but we'll figure it out on the digital streaming platform. I mean the
Play that dance. So we don't catch a copyright situation going into Spotify.
Yeah,
Gotta have that segue in where you know you about to play the record.
Yeah. We'll figure it out, man. But that's it. Anything else you want to touch base on before we jump off for the week?
Nah, man. I just stay blessed, stay focused.
Yeah, man. Y'all do that, man. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. We are on streaming platforms now. So that's Spotify. Theo, what is that? Spotify, podcast app.
Actually, hold on one second before we do that, because we just dropped the RSS feed, so things are still kind of.
Oh yeah. So
I don't want them jumping on and being like, "Let me go check that podcast," and then they be like, "Oh my god, I'm disappointed." So the next level joint is coming. Like, no, don't get it twisted. We literally a month and a half in with building. So things is definitely coming. But we do have the RSS feed link that's coming up. Well, we'll drop that to you next episode, so be on the lookout for that. And by the time we hit the next episode, hopefully things will be moving in that direction to being on streaming services. If not at episode specifically, we'll give you the update on what that looks like and what the next stage is about to be. But trust me when I say 2022 is about to be crazy. 2022 and forever.
Man, by the time y'all listen to this, that should be set up. We literally setting that shit up right after we jump off. But I appreciate the save though. By the way, y'all be easy. Much love. Episode 26 of Capitalism and Art. I'm Hans Snoby.
Urban Waves.
And we will talk to y'all later. Peace.